So I want to make a video talking about some of the things that I've done and have been doing to improve my mental health. First of all, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just someone who's been working through a lot of their problems and trying to fix their life and get their shit together. The first thing that I worked on, which is going to be a little counterintuitive and a bit of a double-edged sword. I would say that a lot of people don't mention this one because it's generally not always focused around mental health. But from my experience, I noticed that fixing this or working on this, while it helped my mental health, doing too much of it might hurt your mental health. And that's actually getting your finances together and trying to get your money organized and trying to make more money. Again, this is one of those that many people might not agree with, but if you've ever been broke, which I have, and I grew up pretty poor, single parent household. I remember my mom giving me food stamps to go to the store and getting money back when I was young. So I know what it's like to struggle, and I understand how difficult it can be when you don't know if you're going to have enough for gas or if you're going to have enough for food or if you're going to have to figure out a way to pawn something or come up with a way to make money so that you can afford the basic necessities. I've been there. I know what that's like. And I know for a fact that it affects your mental health. If you think about it, how are you supposed to afford things like therapy or counseling or just your basic necessities if you don't have enough money? How are you supposed to feel secure and confident that you are going to have all the things you need if you don't have enough money? But don't focus on it too much, because there might come a time when you think that making more money is going to be the solution to your problems, and it's just going to bring on a whole bunch of different problems. Trust me, because I've been there. I went down a whole rabbit hole of trying to make more money and trying to think that getting rich was going to solve a lot of my problems. And that, in fact, didn't happen. And I've realized that now. So money is one of those tricky ones. But I do believe if you want to get to a better place with your mental health, you do at least have to have your basic necessities and a little extra so that you don't have to worry about an emergency or something like that. The next thing I want to mention is getting your health in check. If you're having mental health issues, a lot of the times fixing just some basic things that you might be doing with your body can greatly impact the way you feel. If you're not moving around enough, if you're living an unhealthy lifestyle, if you're not eating well, if you're not getting enough sleep, all of those things will greatly impact your mental health. Trust me, I know, because I worked a lot on getting my finances in order, but I let go of my health completely. I was staying up late working to make more money. I wasn't eating well because I was too busy to meal prep, and I wasn't working out. I was sitting at my desk for hours and hours and hours on end. It was just a sedentary lifestyle, and it wasn't good because all I did was sit around and get fat, stay up late and get very little sleep. I wasn't exerting enough energy and doing enough stuff to make myself feel good, because when you work out and you lift weights and you break a sweat, you feel great afterwards. It is a natural antidepressant. And I know some people give me shit for saying that, but it's true. And I'm saying that because it's worked for me. I know that I feel great when I'm working out, when I'm eating good, and when I'm sleeping good. I just do. As I start to feel better physically, I begin to feel better mentally, and I start focusing on more ways to improve myself and to feel better overall. And that's why I think that taking care of your health is super important, because how can you improve your mental health if your physical health is shit and your financial health is shit? Really, you can't. You need to focus on all those aspects of your life in order to improve your mental health. Another really important thing that I want to mention is therapy. I know that a lot of guys out there don't want to do therapy. There's like a stigma behind it. For some reason, our generation still hasn't come around to it. There's still a lot of macho bullshit around it, and a lot of I'm better than that or I'm stronger than that.
Please, I'm scared. We're all scared. It's the human condition. Why do you think I put on this tough guy facade?
You kind of got to get away from that way of thinking. It's just generally good to talk to someone. And for many men, we don't really open up. It's that stereotypical two dudes could spend the whole day together and barely know anything about what's going on in their personal life, because that's just kind of how guys are. And it's hard to open up to loved ones. It's kind of hard to talk to them about your problems or things that are on your mind, because you don't want to stress them out, or you don't want to unload on them and let them know all the baggage and burdens that you're carrying.
I have cancer.
And that's where I believe that therapy is really good for many people, not just guys, but I'm talking to guys because that's the majority of my audience, because I'm one of the bros. I'm one of the dudes. I'm definitely not an alpha male bro or anything like that. But I get it. I trained martial arts. I grew up fighting and in a bad neighborhood. I grew up where dudes had to be tough. I grew up around that stuff and I carried that stuff through my adult life. And when I finally decided to go to therapy, because it's one of those things that I put off for a very, very, very long time because I just didn't want to do it. I felt like I was admitting failure. I felt that I was weak, but I finally did it. After doing it, I realized that it really is just as simple as talking to someone. That's really all you're doing. You don't have to go in there and cry and have an epiphany. You just got to talk to someone. And talking to someone is really helpful. And if you're looking to talk to someone, let me tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless of if you're someone who has a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just some human who's trying to get through life, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to talk about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more accessible and affordable. And it's a very important mission because finding a therapist can be very difficult, especially when you're limited to options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist much easier, because it's all online and it's completely remote. By just answering a handful of questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. And it's super simple to sign up. Just use the link in my description, betterhelp.com/DorianDevelops. When you use that link, you'll be supporting this channel and you'll also get 10% off of your first month of therapy. And don't worry about finding the right therapist for you, because BetterHelp also makes it extremely easy to change therapists in case you're not happy with the one you first get matched up with. And they do that at no additional cost. So if you're looking to talk to a professional therapist today and you don't want to worry about insurance, therapists being in your area or network, make sure you check out betterhelp.com/DorianDevelops. All right, let's get back to the video. Something else that I want to talk about that took me a while to get around to doing, and it's something that I've struggled with a bunch. I've made videos on it and I'm still struggling with it, is dealing with my addictions. I have done a lot of drugs in my lifetime. I started doing drugs at a very young age. I've been drinking and smoking weed pretty much my entire life. I did a lot of hard drugs when I was younger. I am way too familiar with addiction. I'm way too familiar with addictive cycles. I'm way too familiar with trying to stop and starting back up again. It's tough. It's hard. In the past, I smoke a lot of weed. I drink. And I always think that those things make me feel better or are a way for me to kind of forget or decompress or whatever you want to call it. But I realize that when I am doing those things, I don't feel better. I might feel better for a short time. In the long run, through these cycles that I've gone through over and over with it, I always end up feeling worse to the point where I feel that my addictions become kind of like a prison. I'm kind of like a slave to my addictions, and it affects me in so many ways. It messes with my sleep, it messes with my health. It just undoes a lot of that stuff that I work on. When I start to get away from my substance addictions, I tend to go to my electronic addictions, and I tend to find other things to kind of fill that void. I notice that that's part of my cycle. So one of the things that I've been working on, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about, is trying to get rid of the unhealthy dopamine. I've been taking ice baths. I try to go out and get sun and go for a walk and get good dopamine with my exercise routines and things that I'm doing like that. And I think that if you struggle with addictions like I do, and you struggle with mental health issues like I do, I think that maybe working on those things can help improve your mental health, because it's helped improve my mental health. I mentioned getting outside more, and it's funny because this is something that I always kind of didn't take too seriously. I was like, I don't need to go outside. But honestly, getting outside, getting some of that sunlight in your eyes, getting some of that vitamin D from the sun, and just being in nature more really does help my mental health. There is some science behind it. I don't want to paraphrase or try to quote anyone who knows about that stuff better than I do, but I have done a little bit of research about it, and there is some scientific evidence that shows that being outside, getting sun, getting fresh air, going for a walk, just being in nature makes us feel better. Especially for me, because I'm someone who literally sits in his office all day long. I don't get out of the house much because I work from home. My daily routine is I wake up, I come downstairs, and I log in and start working. And then I go into my garage in the afternoon for my lunch break and I work out. And then I come back and sit at my computer. And when I don't go outside, I can tell that it starts to impact my mental health. Even my wife starts getting on my case and she's like, get outside, go get some sun, go outside and just take a walk, go check the mail, take the dog for a walk, whatever. When I did the Andrew Huberman video, he's real big on getting morning sunlight in your eyes and also getting evening sunlight in your eyes. And I incorporated that into my daily routine for 7 days. And I saw how much it helped with my circadian rhythm, and that helped my sleep, but it also just helped my mood. So I've started to incorporate that more into my regular routine. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say that I get outside every single morning and every afternoon and multiple times a day, but I do try to get outside as much as I can when I can. And when I start feeling like I've been in my office for just way too long, I'll literally walk outside and just stand outside for like 5 minutes. Just stand there. It's a little weird. I try to water the lawn sometimes or do something so the neighbors don't think that I'm just losing my mind. So yeah, get outside more. Another thing that has helped me with my mental health is listening to smart people who are experts around mental health. I'm gonna mention Andrew Huberman again, even though I know some people don't agree with a lot of the stuff he says, but I think that he's doing a good service, putting out a lot of information out there. He talks about a lot of science and how certain things affect your body and your brain, and he brings in a lot of people who are experts in certain areas. I've listened to a lot of his talks on addiction. I've listened to some of his talks and guests on dopamine. I've listened to talks about marijuana and alcohol and how it affects the brain and the body, and listening to smart people who understand how those things work and listening to them break those things down really helped me get a better understanding of how some of these things are making me feel, why I feel how I feel when I drink a lot, why I feel how I feel when I smoke a lot, understanding how addictions work, and all of that has really helped me out a bunch. And instead of taking up my time with dumb stuff like video games or scrolling on social media or TV or stuff that just is a waste of time, I'll listen to a lot of podcasts, I'll listen to audiobooks, and I'll read as well. Maybe it doesn't directly impact my mental health, but getting a better understanding of some of the things and issues that I have has really helped. The last thing I'm going to mention is one of those cheesy things that you'll hear a lot of people say, but I want to say how it's impacted my mental health and how changing the way I think about this actually has really improved my life overall. And it's living in the moment. Again, something you hear people say that's probably written on a poster in a psychiatrist's office with a cat hanging from a tree, and it's live in the moment. It's really one of those things. I noticed that a lot of my stress either comes from me worrying about the future or thinking too much about the past. And the truth is that many times the moment itself isn't that bad. And of course, that's very subjective because sometimes the moment can be terrible. When you worry about things that are out of your control, it makes you feel insecure. It makes you feel scared and anxious and nervous about all those things, and you can't do anything about it, right? Sure, there's things that you might be able to do now that can help you with the future, but there's nothing you can do about the past. And even though there's things that you can do now to help you with the future, trying to do too much of those things or stressing about how much of that stuff you have to do in order to make your future better adds a lot of unnecessary pressure and isn't productive. It isn't healthy. I'm saying this because I'm speaking from experience. I've had a lot of things that have happened in my past that I constantly think about, that I try to drown out with drugs and alcohol. And I have a lot of things in the future that I want to do, things that I feel that I have to work on right now if I want to get them done. But the truth is that as long as I'm making enough strides and putting in a decent amount of effort into those things, I'll get there eventually. I have to learn how to take in the moment and take in what I have and appreciate the small things, because really the future is not guaranteed and the past is gone. I could die tomorrow, and all these things that I stressed about and worried about so much that might happen someday may never happen, and I might miss all the good things that could happen today. So I'm going to end it on that note. Being more present and being in the moment will improve your mental health if you try not to focus too much about the past and the future, because there's not much that you can do about it, honestly. All right. With all that said, I hope that me sharing these things that have helped me with my mental health help you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.